right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pulse of Fins Nation. I'm Ron. Lewis isn't in. He's traveling right now. And with me, we got Eric. We got Chad. How you guys doing?
Well,
Very
Solid,
well.
man.
Very well.
Very well. There we go. So we're coming off a win. I say a big win because every win's a big win for us right now.
True.
And you found it there, Eric. Good job. And everyone's a big win for us right now, and heading towards another big game, of course. But before we get into all that, here I gotta find this here. Wanted to talk a little bit about Thompson Cigars. What's up, man? I know we talked a little bit about smoking cigars. Like I said, I like to do it in a celebratory thing. Maybe we smoke a cigar if we beat Green Bay or something like that. But go to Thompson Cigars. Got the code there is promo 3 yards. That's promo 3 YARDS. I know Alf is a big cigar smoker. So if you go there, hit him up on Twitter or something, or in the Discord, you guys can ask him what he likes. But he's big on cigars. He's the cigar aficionado. I'm sure there's probably a more specific word for it, but I don't actually know the word for somebody who really is into cigars, like if you're into wine or books. But all right, yeah. So again, that's promo 3 yards, and there we go. All right, let's get that off there because I am terrible at this. There we go. All right,
Just
so
for and promo isn't part of it. It's just the promo code is 3.
Oh yeah, the promo code. There you go. Yeah. There you go. Thanks. Sorry,
Yeah.
I had no notes that I was supposed to have, so it's kind of
Well,
weird.
I get it. We're winging.
But I appreciate the assist because clearly I needed it. All right, guys. So 4 weeks ago, we felt like the season was over. But we knew we had some winning we would need to do to save it. We knew it was a possibility. We weren't sure if we would. Tua had been back 2 games, played well those 2 games, but they were 2 losses, Arizona and then Buffalo, right? And we just figured it was done. But we looked at the schedule like, maybe this team's not as strong as we thought. Maybe the Rams aren't as strong as we thought. Patriots are bad. Yada, yada, yada. And now, lo and behold, we've put 3 wins together. And the team's been playing pretty well, I would almost say, in all 3 phases here in those wins. The special teams hasn't been as bad, right? Not as many miscues and issues on special teams. Defense can be a little leaky. That's a little bit of a concern, but the offense has been pretty strong. Chad, I'm going to go to you since we're kind of doing this one show, coming off of one game 2 days ago, going into another game 2 days from now. What can we carry over from the last 3 weeks to maybe try and win in this Green Bay game? And what do we need to do better? I think I know what the answer to that's going to be, but I'm just curious what you think, Chad.
Well, I think, this was the first game the season special teams didn't directly hurt us. So, that's a positive, right? I still think the special teams needs to get better. I had a rant last week. You weren't on, Ron, but I was just going off of how this is the worst special teams I've ever seen. And even in this game, Malik Washington took 2 punt returns off the bounce, which not recommended. I don't know what normally you would let it go or you'd fair catch it. You don't take them off the bounce very often. And he's kind of a loose cannon back there. But, we didn't have holding penalties or offsides or anything else. So I'll give that a benefit. So hopefully Malik Washington won't hurt us in the Green Bay game. This could be a game where he actually should try to return some kicks rather than just fair catch them, because I was actually at that New England game and we beat the brakes off them. That game, obviously you guys watched it and realized it was probably the right fumble. It even made the game look even remotely close, but Miami was all over them. So that was encouraging to see. In this game, it's a lot more. I don't get to go to a lot of the games because I'm in Iowa, and it was interesting to watch what Miami did and how New England had to respond. And you've been kind of watching it evolve over the last couple of weeks, but for most of this season and even going into the back of last season, teams are running those 2 high safety shells on the Dolphins, and basically bringing their corners up, keeping their safeties back, and you back your linebackers up, and you take away the middle of that field for those in-cutting routes, and then you're basically trying to take Waddle and Hill out of the game. And it just didn't seem like Miami had a lot of answers to that. But this game in particular, that first quarter, they just Jonnu Smith the heck out of them. And they didn't have an answer for it. Jonnu Smith was eating them alive. And so what I then saw him do is the safeties came down in the box, and then they started, by the second quarter, they were going to a single high safety that they were rotating over on Tyreek Hill. And you saw what the effect of that was is Waddle just lit them up, because then they were trying to single cover Waddle, which they didn't have somebody that could do that. And it was fun to just watch them pick them apart like that. And it reminded me a lot of those old Patriots games, what they would do to us when you'd have Brady in there, and it'd be like, you would move this guy over here, and they would just, run Julian Edelman on a slant until you finally took away the Julian Edelman slant, and they would switch to something else. And it just felt like you couldn't do anything to stop it. And that's what it looked like in that Patriots game. So that was good to see. And you also see if we can score points, which we have been the last few weeks, that's directly impacting what you're seeing Chop Robinson do on the pass rush, because he's not a great edge setter, but he's a great pass rusher. And so when you can keep Chop Robinson on the field in second longs and third and longs and let him just go after the quarterback, you're seeing results from it, and makes you feel pretty good about the investment of a draft pick in him, because he's a very, very good pass rusher. And even on that fourth down where May threw it up and they got lucky, we had a busted coverage. Chop Robinson was getting held terribly on that play, and he's been getting held a fair amount, and hopefully we'll get a ref that's a little bit tighter on that, because maybe it's because he's a rookie, but they've been kind of letting it go a little bit. He's been a problem for tackles. That being said, for this Green Bay game, I mean, you've watched a lot of games. You've been along like me, Ron, a long time. We haven't won this game in 2 decades or more. And
yeah. Everybody's trying to make it a McDaniel Tua thing. Let me tell you, as an old guy, this has been since my 20s, and I'm almost 50. So there you go.
It is, and I think this, not to be dramatic, this is the most important game in Mike McDaniel's coaching career, and probably Tua's career as well. But I mean, this is the narrative game, if you want to call it that. But look, this is a game on the road. Green Bay's a top 10 team. It's going to be a hostile environment. It's going to be cold. It's going to be on prime time, and it's a game we really need to win. And for 20 to 30 years, this team just, practically since Shula left, this team just folds in this game. They make mistakes. They don't play very well. And we'll see. And the other thing with this game is you look at this roster right now. In the NFL, this is as healthy a roster as you're going to get at Week 12. I mean, we've got Waddle's playing, Hill's playing, Jonnu Smith's playing, Achane, Mostert, Wright. The majority of our offensive line is healthy. Armstead is probably going to play. Even if he doesn't, it's the guy we selected to be the future left tackle that would replace him. Even Isaiah Wynn is around if we need help.
Yeah.
You can't say, this team was injury riddled. That's
definitely not. I agree. You're 100% right on that. It's the healthiest we've been going into this time of year. Yeah.
Yeah, on both sides of the ball. And this is the team Chris Greer built. This is the team Mike McDaniel wanted. This is all of it. And if we go in and
minus Phillips and Chubb.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, but like I said, you don't get to this point in the NFL at Week 12 and be this healthy typically. And so this is the most healthy I remember this team in years at this point in the season. So to me, they've got to come out and have a really strong showing. They have to win this game really, but if they just come in and lay down and by the fourth quarter they're kind of giving up, I look at that and I'm like, okay, Greer, McDaniel, Tua, what would make me believe that you could beat a team at Baltimore or at Pittsburgh, in those elements? And if you can't win this
playoff game,
this essentially is that atmosphere. I mean, we need to win this game. I mean, Denver's got a pretty good jump on us right now. Could we lose one game the remaining season? Probably, but not more than one. And this is the toughest game we have left, but I would, even if we don't make the playoffs, I'd like to see this team win that game, because it gives you confidence that, even if we don't make it this year, that what's going on as an organization, maybe we're finally getting better. Because, yeah, I want to win a Super Bowl, but you probably remember the Shula days, Ron. We were always good. We were always good. And you see the teams like that now in the NFL, like Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they were terrible last year, but they made the playoffs. They were well coached. And I remember the days when the Dolphins would make the playoffs, even when they didn't have that great a team. And I'd like to see this organization just have a sustained winning good program. And that's what this kind of game is for you. Have we gotten that, or is this just the same old mediocre Dolphins?
I guess we'll find out. So, Eric, so in the pregame show before Sunday, we all gave, it was me, you, and Ethan on. We gave our predictions. I had it close, being a close battle, 27-24. I don't remember what Ethan said. I think he was like a low scoring. I remember him doing like a 2013 or something like that. You called it being a boat race. You had it, I feel like 35-17.
I had 34-17 specifically with the qualifier of I think New England
garbage points. Yeah. So pretty much you nailed it. So I'd like to know, what is it you saw in the team that made you feel like that was going to happen, and does that continue on to Thursday night?
So I think that there's the performance of the team has been telling a story over the last 5 weeks. You get Tua back versus Arizona. You play a Cardinals team that maybe they didn't have the best record at the time of that game, but I think we've seen since then is a pretty good football team. You really should have beaten them, but you just couldn't get over the hump. You play as close as you can to a perfect game against Buffalo, minus defensively. You have the boneheaded penalty by Jordan Poyer at the very end there.
That crushed
you lose on a 61-yard field goal. But then you win on Monday night on the road in prime time against a decent LA Rams team, but it was a pretty ugly win. I think we can be honest about that.
We kept him out of the end zone the whole time, so that was helpful. You're going to win a lot of games doing that.
Getting through that game with a victory. And then, again, they played a pretty good game against Vegas. You started to see some things coming together. But then against New England, it just felt like everything clicked. Let's be honest. Really, the defense, I mean, in my personal, recollection of events, this was a shutout. You had the Jalen Wright fumble, and then as Chad pointed out, you've got Chop Robinson in a headlock for half the play when Drake May throws up that prayer for a touchdown, which I see people calling that a busted coverage, but man, how long do you expect these guys to cover? If the play's go in 6, 7, 8 seconds, somebody's going to shake open downfield. That's just the way that goes. I'm not getting on anyone's case really about that too badly. I just think that the team is kind of hitting its stride really at the right time in the season, as opposed to, what they did in the first 2 years of the Mike McDaniel era, where it kind of felt like, the team was surging in October, early November, and then they kind of started to taper off late November, and then they would hit those doldrums in December. So I just think this is a case of the team kind of peaking at the right time. And they're getting, potentially quite a bit of reinforcements back here. I think, when Tua came back, it was almost like you added more than one player to the offense, because all of a sudden your wide receivers became involved again. Jonnu Smith gained a role in the offense. And so it just feels like kind of a convergence of the defense is really starting to come around. I mean, they had 10 sacks through the first 8 games in the season, and they're at 21 now through 11. The defense is starting to come alive with the pass rush. A lot of that is Chop Robinson, but a lot of it is also, hey, that Zach Sealer guy is pretty good. Missing him for a couple games, that matters.
I felt like people laughed at me when I said it. I think I posted it in OnlyFans. I felt like not having Sealer is why we lost Arizona. We were a play or two away, like a defensive play or two away is what we needed in that game at some point, and we just never really could get it. And Sealer would have come up with one or two. I might be stretching, but I feel like it definitely hurt us not having Sealer. He's such a great player. I keep wanting to say he's the best player on our defense. I know we have Ramsey, but I don't know, man. I feel like Sealer's maybe he's not the best player on our defense, but he might be the most important. He just anchors the whole thing. He's so awesome, man. He's just so awesome. And we all wondered, hey, when not Wilkins there, will Sealer just disappear now that he's going to catch the double teams and blah blah blah? Yeah, no, that didn't happen. Like, he's really good.
And I think it's time to have some conversations here. Because the guy next to Sealer this year might be as good as the guy that was next to Sealer last year.
He's playing maybe close to that level. He really is even at that age. And Campbell, Calais Campbell, if anybody didn't know what we're talking about.
And then you're getting contributions from guys that were added to the roster kind of late in the season. Tyus Bowser has been pretty solid off the edge. Anthony Walker, when they made the decision to go from David Long and start him full time,
I think he's going to be out, isn't he? Coming up though,
he is.
He'll be out to Green Bay with that.
Upgrade over Long, and then Tyrell Dodson came in the game, and I think a lot of what he did when he came in was really solid.
And he doesn't even know fully quite what he's doing in the defense yet, but he put him in there and he managed to make some plays and do some good things.
I think he's better than Walker, guys. Maybe not in the pass game, but God, he is around the ball all the time. He's one of those guys that wherever the ball's at, he shows up there. And he's a pretty good looking tackler from what I've seen. And so having him for the Green Bay they like to power run the football, and I think he's going to be invaluable in the Green Bay game if we're going to hang in there. I really like the guy. I can't believe we got him basically for free in the middle of the year.
That's what I was going to say is like us having a bad record is probably the only reason we were able to claim him. Like if we're 8-3, we probably don't get him. Honestly.
Right. True.
Yeah, so I'd say for me the number one thing that I'm a little concerned about, and it could be the way teams are playing us, and I think also some of it was that Ingold not being back, but he's back now, and I know he didn't really do. I don't know how much he played. I didn't see how many snaps he got in the New England game. I didn't feel like
I didn't see him on
being used.
Period.
Yeah, I didn't see him, but I thought maybe he was there, and I just didn't see him. But we need to get this run game going like it was going. Like I feel like the run to pass ratio is getting a little heavy to the pass again, and I want to see us be a bit more. I want to see us closer to 50-50 in this Green Bay game. I honestly think we're going to need to be more 50-50, and I'm not sure based off what happened in this New England game that you're going to see Green Bay play us like New England played us, and that hey, let's just bring somebody a bit more extra in the box and. They know that Miami can be lethal with that crossing game in the middle and especially going over the top. I have a feeling they're just going to play us the way teams have been playing us since November of last year, and that's a lot of too high safety, which means you're going to need to bring the run game. You're going to need to bring a lot of different concepts of the run game and run the ball a lot successfully to shake them out of that if you want to score points.
But I would argue everything that they've done in the short passing game has been a counter to that as well. Because
that's true. Yeah, no doubt.
You're going to play those two high safeties. That's fine. We've seen Jonnu Smith go for 10 catches, 100 yards. He can do that all day long in Green Bay if he wants to. Granted, the run game is going to be extremely important in this one. And I know Alec Ingold will actually play. That's where I think that the offense has really taken the step. Is I think that they've developed a successful counter to that. in the fact that the short passing game is almost passed as an extension of the run game in the last few weeks, and I know that you can't get away with that forever, and so they're going to have
yeah, because it's just it's a lower percentage run because you have to rely on a guy being open. You know, it could be covered possibly. You also have to rely on an accurate throw, nothing messing it up. You have to make sure if it's quick pressure on you, that can mess it up. Versus handing it off, unless you fumble the handoff, there's not a lot that can go wrong there. That does go wrong more often with the short passing game. So what do you think, Chad? Do you think we're going to get the run game back on track? Maybe see Ingold in that game a lot more, perhaps. I was really surprised we didn't see him at all for the New England game, but I know they say they never hold things out to the next game, but sometimes I feel like in this game with playing New England, them not being very good, they were playing thinking about the Green Bay game. So I'm going to give them that and hope that Ingold is in this Green Bay game. So what are your thoughts on that, Chad?
I agree with you on what you're saying, Ron. I don't know his injuries. I know it was a calf, I believe, and my guess is that is an easy injury to re-aggravate. And so could he played more in the New England game? Probably. Is he 100%? Probably wasn't. And so I think it was just strategic, like the way New England was playing by that second quarter, they were coming up way more than I'd seen other teams do. And I think more of it was trying to address what we were doing with Jonnu Smith. But the way they were playing defense, it wasn't really conducive to Ingold being as useful as he might be if those teams keep their linebackers. And it's really the line, because most teams are still afraid of Tyreek Hill, even though he hasn't been getting the stats. He just so quickly, if you don't respect it, the speed at which him and Tua will put 7 up on the board, teams just still keep their safeties back. And so most teams want to back their linebackers up to take away that space between the linebackers and the safeties. And that's where the run game comes in and where Ingold comes in. And so I think he will be an important part of that Green Bay game. The forecast doesn't look like it's going to be snowing or really windy per se, but it's going to be cold. And that should impact the passing game to an extent. So we're going to need to lean on that run game a little bit. I do feel like the teams this year, they're getting better reads on that kind of that old Denver. I call it the old Denver Broncos zone stretch run because they used to do that all the time in the late 90s with Terrell Davis. McDaniel loves to run that play. He tries to window dress it in so many different ways, but it's the same old play that Mike Shanahan ran in the 90s over and over and over with Terrell Davis. And you get your lineman out in space, and you want a back that's a one cut back that just looks for a crease and goes up. And teams are getting good penetration a lot, and that we're seeing more. You guys have probably seen that more when we try to run around the outside. We're starting to get these 2 and 3 yard losses, which is really detrimental to your drive. It's like a penalty without getting it down.
I think that's why you see us do more of this year of the quick little pass out to the flat. Like it's real quick to the flat because that's less time than running the guy out there with the ball, so that the linebackers don't have a chance to react because they have to kind of stay in place. The quarterback still has the ball, and it allows the quarterback to kind of get out there, which helps. But again, it's a pass. It has to be accurate, and guys can still get in there and mess that up, or guys get pressure in the quarterback's face and mess it up.
It's a little harder to execute than just a handoff for sure. The other thing with that is I just don't think you can do that near as effectively with Mostert, and definitely not with Wright at this point in his career. And so that's an Achane thing where they're looking at, are they bringing in linebackers that are 2-down run stoppers? Then they're going to send Achane around maybe out of the backfield because he's a mismatch in space then because of his quickness and speed. And I'd mentioned this last week. He's substantially better right now than the other two in terms of what McDaniel wants to do with the offense because he's so effective out in space in the pass game. And they just missed it, but man, did he cook a linebacker in that in the Patriots game? They just missed getting a touchdown on it. But that scares that I was almost feeling sorry for the Patriots at that point because they were starting to use their extra like safety or D-back to stop Jonnu Smith, and then we run a 9 route with Achane on their linebacker who had no hope of keeping up with him. He's just too fast. Yeah. But I think hopefully we can power if we're going to be able to run like off tackle or between guard center. That's going to be probably Alec Ingold lead blocking up the middle, and can our linemen push them around a little bit? And I don't know if that's the case or not, but I'm hoping to see a little bit better run game out of it. It hasn't been terrible. You're not seeing the big runs we were seeing last year where somebody rips off like a 30, 40-yard run.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of can we get 2 yards, 3 yards, or 4 yards and get it down to second and 6 or third and 2. It's been a lot of that kind of stuff. So I don't. This is a lot better team than we lost to Buffalo twice. That's really the only real teams we've played. I mean, we've beaten 4 of our 5 wins were against teams that are competing for the first overall pick. I mean, the Raiders are bad, the Patriots are bad, Jacksonville is bad, and the Rams. I would just say they're a fringe, contender. They're not a great team, and so this is a real football team. And so they're going to be much harder to contain the run against and much harder to run on is what I'm anticipating. And so this is going to be a big Tua game. I mean, if we come in and run all over them, I would love it. I'm not expecting it, though. It's just I think it's going to be try to get 3 yards of carry in there and let Tua do the rest and keep them honest in that run game.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way it's interesting, too, that even though he's smaller, Achane is still running between tackles as well and running pretty well. And he's a little elusive in there, too. He had a nice little run in that game that looked like it was going to be maybe a yard, and somehow he breaks it for 7 or 8, just sliding off, just slipping tackles right in between the guard and center there.
It's interesting. It is. I mean, they're both really fast, right, Achane, but they're completely opposite on what they do. Achane's a very patient runner. He likes to kind of let the blocks develop because we have a lot of guys moving around, pulling, and going all over the place. And every time you're just shooting him out of a cannon, he's just go. And I think I've been saying, you guys probably remember early in the season, I don't like he's an upright runner. And man, he got killed one time in this game. He didn't fumble on that play, but I'm hoping they can coach him to get his pad level down when he gets into contact because he's not a real big back, and leaving your abdomen exposed is just I don't know how long he'll live doing that. But it's interesting, but for the change of pace because it's like Achane makes the defenders have to play their gaps because he's waiting and go, and he's really quick. And so if you over pursue or you don't set your edge correctly, Achane really will make you pay. And when you start doing that, then if you're getting too hesitant and they bring right in, then he just goes right past you because he's coming in so fast. So we'll see. Although I was mentioning in the chat, I think this is the game they've been waiting for Mostert because historically he's been our best cold weather back. He comes in, plays real well in the cold, and I remember the Buffalo game a few years back when we were playing in the snow in Buffalo. Man, Mostert was running all over him. So hopefully we'll get a little more angry runs, I guess, out of him because if the space isn't there and we're not getting much push in the run game, Mostert's probably the best guy who might be able to get you a yak of another yard or two when there's not much there. So it'll be interesting to see how McDaniel plays that hand that he has. I don't even know what I would do right now with those 3. When to use them and when not to use them is a tough call.
What do you think, Eric? Do you think that Mostert's out of the doghouse enough that they can start to feature him more in this game?
I mean, I know Wright is a bit of an upright runner. And I understand that. And that's my favorite thing about Achane is he might be I don't think I've ever seen a guy run lower to the ground between the tackles than Achane. I mean, he's almost like running like a 45-degree angle sometimes. It's crazy. But Wright is the guy so far this year. He's got the most yards after contact of any of the Dolphins backs. And I think in a game like this, that's something that they're going to need. And I know in the cold weather, those hits that you take, they hurt a little bit more. So I don't, hopefully he doesn't break down mid-game, but I think this is a game where, Wright and to an extent Mostert, because he's almost similar in that regard that he is a little bit bigger, more of a guy that's going to eat that contact and take more of it. And again, I think Achane is going to be, he's going to be Achane. He's going to be effective in the run game, but I think where he's going to kill the Packers or where he's going to really hurt the Packers if the Dolphins are successful on offense is going to be in that quick passing game, those passes out to the flats where, okay, cool. You're gonna bunch your linebackers over the middle. You're gonna play your safeties back because you're afraid of those in-breaking routes. All right, go for it. We're gonna get Devon Achane into space with numbers, and we're gonna beat you with that. And we're gonna beat you over and over again until you have to adjust your defense. And they can do. And the good thing about it is it's not one-dimensional, where Achane's the only guy that they're able to do that with. You've got Achane on one side, and then you also have to worry about the tight end screen with Jonnu Smith because he's a guy that's a really good run after catch player as well in that short passing game situation,
which we've been seeing the last few weeks.
Yeah, no, he's probably, as far as tight ends go, one of the better run after catch guys in the league. Maybe even the best at that position. I think he led the league in yards after catch for tight ends last year, actually. But getting back to Achane, I think where he's going to hurt the Packers is going to be in the passing game, primarily with Wright and Mostert kind of being your change of pace guys to hopefully get those punishing runs later on in the game.
Yeah, and before we move it, we're going to move it here to defense in a second. Another player I'd like to see get involved in this because I think, number one, it helps the running game, and number two, I kind of like when he gets mixed in the offense, just like maybe a play here, a play there, because he sneaks up on teams, is the River Craycraft. I'd like to see him, now that he's come back. He's been back from IR for a few weeks, but, I mean, I don't know how many times we've even seen him on the field, or if we've seen him on the field. I don't recall. I don't think they've even thrown to him if he has been on the field, so I'd like to see him get involved too. He would also help the run game some, in my opinion, and we're starting to see the vision of what this offense is, what they wanted it to look like with Achane out of the backfield, with the way they're using Jonnu Smith for this year. Obviously, we still have the receivers. We're getting Malik Washington involved. And now, they're trying to get Odell Beckham involved. He just ain't the same guy anymore. But then, like to see River in there as well. And I think that kind of completes the offense. I agree with you, Chad, as I say that. This is about as healthy as I can remember the Dolphins being this time of year, knock on wood. And we've been going the right way, right? We've been getting players back and getting healthier.
Right.
Not less healthy as time goes on. But now we got to bring it to how does our defense play the Green Bay offense? And Jordan Love, obviously, he's good. He's nimble, can really move around back there. Got a cannon. He's pretty accurate, pretty smart. I mean, he's a good quarterback. Seems like Green Bay has done it 3 times in a row, right? From Love back to Rodgers, back to Brett Favre. So they just keep finding a way. But, Chad, what are your thoughts on should we blitz the heck out of this guy? Should we not blitz him at all? Like, what are your thoughts on what you're hoping to see the defensive strategy be going against Green Bay?
Well, they do have an injury. His name slipped my mind. Who's their number 1 receiver for Green Bay? Do you know, Eric?
Is it Reed or
Romeo Doubs?
Dobbs. He had a concussion, right? I believe he had a concussion, which means it's going to be hard for him to clear protocol unless they're Buffalo and don't care about people's health at all. Which Buffalo would probably clear him, but
a lot of people would say that about Miami, right?
Miami's ultra conservative with their guys.
Now we're ultra conservative about it.
Buffalo gives them smelling salts and tells them to get back in there.
Yeah, Eric, get back in, Alan. And nobody says crap.
But
anyway,
if he doesn't play, that will, I think, maybe impact there, because even though it's a home game, this is a short week. Miami's probably doing 1 real practice, Green Bay maybe 2. And so Miami's fortunate in that they shouldn't have to do a lot of installs, because this whole group, even a guy like Lamb at tackle, he's been with this team for 2 years. He should know the whole playbook inside out. And so we shouldn't have a lot of guys that we're trying to figure out how to use them when they don't know what's going on. There's be no excuse for nobody. And so maybe Green Bay will be a little bit more limited in their passing game. They're 100% the best run team we're going to have faced so far. They're a good running team, and Josh Jacobs he's a tough tackle. He's not easy to tackle, and so that to me this game's going to come out. Green Bay's going to test our run defense, and so I'm happy we still got Calais Campbell in there. He's really hard to run on. And of course having Sealer in there. So that'll be a big thing.
So this is where having Chop Robinson, this is where I get a little bit nervous.
I don't think you're going to see Chop on the field unless we're getting them into passing downs much. That's kind of you're seeing him more because our offense is playing so well. That's complementary football. But when you're throwing up 24, you're up 24-0 in the first half. Chop just gets to pass rush the whole second half, and that helps a lot. But you'll probably see 3 D tackle sets coming in for Miami. So you'll see like Campbell, Sealer, and another D tackle in there, or maybe like Ogba, to help control them from getting pushed around up front like that. So I don't think you'll see a lot of blitzing, Ron. Weaver isn't a big blitzer. He likes to do the old Dallas. I call it the old Dallas zone blitz, where you try to fool him a little bit, and so you're mixing up who's rushing the passer, but you're not sending a lot more guys. He's not like Brian Flores where they do a lot of zero, or we're sending 5 guys.
Zero's kind of done anyway in the NFL. People know how to beat.
Well, I mean, you can run it here and there, but it's not easy. But it's not an ultra aggressive blitz defense here. He likes to blitz like a corner and drop a D end out in his own coverage in the flat. He loves to do that. But this is, I mean, as a fan, it always gets frustrating. But for whatever reason, it seems to be more effective. But this is a bend but don't break style of defense. He likes to keep his guys back, and he likes to tackle guys in front of him. That's the defense we run a lot of, and so hopefully we've been up and down on tackling this year, and so hopefully we have a good tackling game, because what you see when we're struggling tackling lanes, what's happening in Arizona, the problem isn't a tight end catching the ball. The problem is the tight end's supposed to be tackled for a 3-yard gain, not running for 7 yards. And we got.
That's where we did better with the Raiders, because we let what's his name, Bauer?
Yeah,
their tight end. We let him catch like 12 balls, and it was by design. But they were pretty much on the tackle right away. He didn't slip a lot of them, which is key. We might see that in this game too. The same sort. of strategy.
It's the idea is you're trying to make them go to third down every time and have to execute 15 plays to get down the field, and so. It's tough because you're watching them do the same play over and over to get 3 yards, and if you tackle it, it works, and if you don't, they continue to convert. But that's what I don't see a big, especially with a short week, where I don't think we're going to see anything really crazy or exotic, because they don't have time to install anything, and it's a healthy defense. So the only thing you might see is the wild card that Weaver likes to use is Ramsey. He does all sorts of stuff with Ramsey. You'll see him playing in the slot. You'll see him. He blitzes a lot more than I've ever seen Ramsey blitz. And so who knows what he'll do with Ramsey? That's kind of his chess piece. If he's blitzing, or all of a sudden Ramsey might just get put on Watson in man and try to take him away while you do other things as well. So. If it were me, what I'm hoping they do is you use Ramsey to your advantage. You put him out in man coverage on an island, and you don't help him, and you bring in help to make it really hard for them to run and use the tight end underneath. And I want them throwing the ball deep on Ramsey. I'll take my chances on them throwing at him and see if he can't come up with a play for me. But we'll see, because I don't think Fuller is going to play. I think I saw in the chat from Reason that Fuller is reported as unlikely, but Storm Duck has been playing surprisingly well. One thing about Chris Greer, or whoever that scout is, they seem to be able to find these corners off the street like Kader Kohu or Nick Needham that aren't terrible NFL cornerbacks for getting them, out low in the draft or not even drafted. But hopefully between him and Cam Smith, they can hold it down on the other side. You've probably noticed teams are going after Cam Smith on the deep routes. And so they'll definitely be, if he's out there playing the boundary, you'll get a few shots on him. And they mix it up. You don't get Cam Smith all game on the boundary. Like Kohu will come out and do it one play, and you'll see Storm Duck out there on a different play. And I don't know if that's by design or they're just giving different people chances. But if our offense can tick and we can get, on passing downs, that's where this defense is the best, because they play a lot of zone tackle in front of them, and they like to let Chop be the guy that gets the heat on the passer rather than having to do a lot of manufactured blitzing and stuff like that.
What are your thoughts, Eric, on the defense?
So I don't think we appreciate how good the Dolphins have been against the run lately. over the last 5 games since week 8, and this includes, now granted, I will fully grant you guys, none of those run games are quite as good as Green Bay, but they have faced James Conner, they have faced Kyron Williams, they have faced James Cook, even
who
Ramondre
cooked us in week
to
2.
a lesser extent. He did, but
not in
those 5 games, the Dolphins are averaging 78 rushing yards against, 3.9 yards per carry. The run defense has been really solid. So right now, I mean, if Green Bay thinks that they're just going to run Josh Jacobs into Calais Campbell and Zach Sealer, be my guest. I am all for that. I think they're going to play a more conservative brand of defense because of the fact that Green Bay does have a dynamic offense. Jordan Love loves to throw the ball deep downfield. Christian Watson, while inconsistent, is one of the better deep threats in the league. And even guys like Dontavius Wicks and Jaden Reed are solid complementary pieces. Tucker Kraft is a very good tight end. Really the entire the depth along the defensive line doesn't get enough credit for my liking. We all talk about Calais Campbell and Zach Sealer, and for good reason. But Benito Jones and Deshaun Hand have been really solid rotational guys along the line. They just kind of do their job. But I think you're going to see the defense play that kind of, hey, we're going to stay back and we're going to let Green Bay play in front of us. Because here's what's going to happen. Jordan Love is a lot more Brett Favre than Aaron Rodgers. And so if you can get him into those 3rd and long situations, he will play hero ball. He's been picked off 11 times already this season. I think that's the most in the NFL, actually. And so as much as he does really positive for the Packers.
And he hasn't played all the games. I mean, he missed at least
2
or 3 earlier in the season.
Yeah, so if you can get him to have to put on that Superman cape, he's liable to make a few mistakes. And that's where I think getting into those 3rd and long situations, I think the key is Josh Jacobs has to be the focal point for the defense. If you stop Josh Jacobs, I think you make Jordan Love much, much less effective. So I think it has to start there. The emphasis has to be on making sure Green Bay can't run and get comfortable on those early downs.
Hopefully our offense can do that for us. As if we're throwing points on the board, you kind of force them out of that run game. But
exactly.
Chop's been. I mean, you have to give Chris Greer and the scouting department credit. I mean, I hate giving comparisons to great players, but he's Cameron Wake good off the edge. He's so quick off the ball, and he gives those tackles fits. And Weaver's has really figured out using him on those stunts has helped Chop's passing game so much because he's so quick looping around on those stunts. And when you have a guy like Sealer in there doing those stunts with him, that's a challenge for those offensive linemen. But defensively, when you don't have to blitz and you're getting to the quarterback, that's a huge luxury. And so I agree with you. If we can get Jordan Love having to pass a lot and we can keep guys like Chop Robinson on the field just chasing him, I mean, I think he will start to force the ball up. And if we're sitting back and we got 2 deep safeties and Ramsey and those guys are back, I hope we can get some turnovers for sure.
All right, guys, we're going to continue this conversation in a second. Plus, I want to talk a little bit about Shaq Barrett, but I got a couple promos to play. One I didn't play at the beginning for Jersey 305, so I'm going to play that now, guys.
Hey, it's Ethan Skolnick for the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We've got a great new sponsor that fits with us perfectly. It's called jerseys305.com. That's jerseys305.com. This is your home for dead stock and vintage jerseys from the Heat, Panthers, Dolphins, Marlins, and the other local teams. Their mission was born from a passion for wearing jerseys of the old styles and the past players. Jerseys 305 aims to make every fan stand out from the crowd with unique pieces that you don't commonly see anymore. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, but not today. And Jerseys 305 was created by the fans, for the fans. They're diehards just like you. In fact, they're probably listening to this episode right now. So check them out, Jerseys 305, their partnership with 5 Reasons Sports, celebrating with a 10% discount on the next purchase using the code 5 at checkout. Unlock your exclusive savings on the entire vintage collection.
I guess I was actually looking at that Jersey 305 site. Showed it to some friends a couple days ago at work, and they were actually super impressed with all the stuff that was on there. There's a lot of collectible stuff too. There's some signed jerseys. There's some signed jerseys that are framed. So it's not just jerseys that you wear too. But I got one more promo. Our buddy Alf is going to tell us, if I could find the there you go, about Underdog Fantasy.
Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. Compete against other players by just selecting higher or lower on 2 or more player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money, so turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. They have 2 promotions going right now. Vulture Protection. If you select a designated running back to score a touchdown in your pick'em entry, and they get vultured, we will rescue your entry. Red Zone Rush. A game you won't find anywhere else. Just pick whether or not a player will score a TD by swiping right for yes or left for no. Simple as that. Plus, your entry will be automatically boosted, and you'll get a 51% profit boost when you play. Join over 5 million fans that are already playing on Underdog. With their Champs game, you can win money by making entries with your favorite players. Download the Underdog app today and use the promo code 3YARDS. That's the promo code 3YARDS to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Higher or lower, you make the call on Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 19 plus in Alabama, New England, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE NY or text Hope NY to 467-369. Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. Compete against other players by just selecting higher or...
Yeah, it did. I just played again for some reason. All right, there we go. All right, question for you guys. I'll go to Chad on this one first. So if it's not going to be windy in particular, right?
That's what I read. Yeah, I'm not a weatherman.
So let's just say it's not. Let's just assume it's not going to, and it's not going to be snowing, right?
I don't think so.
What is this? Is the weather really going to be a big concern for us? I know that cold obviously affects you differently, and we could just say that the Dolphins aren't used to cold. I guess they don't play in cold at home, obviously, but they do play on the road in cold sometimes. Is it really a concern? I mean, I think people are trying to act like this is the Kansas City game. That was like negative 25 wind chill. I mean, that's a big difference between that and, say, 15 degrees. That's a huge difference. So I'm not as worried about the weather. I think the situation is one that the Dolphins have failed in almost every single time, like we talked about. It's prime time. Everybody's watching. It's a game we really have to have. It's against a really good team on the road. That's all makes me nervous. I'm just not sure that the weather is going to be a big factor. What do you think, Chad?
No, I mean, I've only played high school ball, but I can tell you 20 and 30 degree weather isn't that bad because you're already hot. You're moving around. So I don't think it's even comparable to like what we were going into Kansas City where you've got, negative 20 wind chill. I don't know if the field will be concrete. I don't know how cold it'll be. It'll be harder than Miami's field, obviously, but I'm more worried about this will be it's Thanksgiving night for one. It's Green Bay. This is going to be sold out, and it's going to be a very hostile crowd. And so my concern, Miami does a lot of like motions and timings and stuff like that. So what we can't be doing is getting like illegal formations and false starts and miscommunications between the receivers and the quarterbacks running around routes, because that can lead to interceptions or it leads to incompletions. And so I want to see if this team can execute in the environment. I think it's going to be more difficult with the crowd than how cold it is.
What are your thoughts, Eric, on the weather in
Yeah,
general? And any
yeah.
thoughts that you
I think
had?
it's an overblown narrative. It really is with the weather, especially if it's going to be 25, 30, with pretty calm winds. I'm not particularly concerned about that. As Chad says, the Dolphins' offense is very complicated. I'm probably a little bit more worried about that factor more than anything. Although I think Tua is really operating this offense right now at a level, just from a cerebral standpoint, that he's never operated this offense at before.
Oh, you know what? I was gonna not even bring that up, as maybe I didn't want to jinx it, or I didn't want to get in this real long conversation, or thinking maybe it's just me. Something looks a little bit different, right? Since Tua came back, I don't know what it is. I'm trying not to let the fan control my thought process on that. So I'm gonna ask Chad too, because I know Chad will keep it real with us. But something is a little different, right, Eric? Like something's just
Yeah,
a little extra level. I feel like I haven't seen.
I don't want to. I'm not going to throw any specific names out there. You guys can fill in the blanks with your imaginations. But it looks like he's just in control of the offense. This is no longer just Mike McDaniel's offense. This really feels like it's Tua's offense. The same way great quarterbacks of the past have really been in control, the CEOs of their offenses. It feels like Tua kind of has gotten there. I'm not saying that he is at that level, but that's what the process of the offense is looking like right now.
Well, one thing he's added that he's never had before, at least in Miami, is off-schedule throws.
Yep.
Like moving around off-schedule throws, and clearly you can see he's working through the reads much better than he ever has. Any vision of him being a quote-unquote one-read quarterback, I just think he's blown that narrative out of the water. But the off-schedule throws they're making a big difference because it's leading to plays that we just wouldn't have had before.
That's the one read quarterback thing, and I'm gonna let you guys jump into this because I know I'm kind of going on a tangent on this, but it feels like the last couple of years I've said there were some plays where it feels like Tua kind of just runs on autopilot, where he'll read the defense pre-snap and he'll predetermine, okay, I'm going to throw the ball here. It's no longer Tua's making quick decisions because he's reading pre-snap. It is Tua's getting the snap. He's genuinely processing the information post-snap and making those quick reads. It's no longer, okay, this guy should be open when I catch the snap, so I'm going to throw the ball to this spot. I think that's been mostly eliminated from his game. And that's why you don't see those, throws where you're just like, man, what was he doing? Where it felt like he would have one of those a game. And it feels like he's kind of eliminated that just to an extent.
Before we talk about Shaq Barrett there, Chad, your thoughts on, do you feel like Tua's brought this to another level we haven't seen, or is it just what we've seen before? You're not really seeing any difference?
No,
Besides the off-schedule throws, that's obvious. I mean, that's anybody could see that.
Well, I think people put too much emphasis on off-schedule throws. When you bring quarterbacks into the league, when you're scouting them, they're looking at arm strength and intangibles. And Tua has an NFL caliber arm. He doesn't have an elite arm. Tua can throw a 30-yard in or out really well. He can throw a 50 yards there. He can't throw a 40 or 50-yard out and 70 yards down the field like Josh Allen for that off-schedule stuff. But that's not what Tua is elite at, is the speed at which he goes through progressions. I've never seen anybody faster. His release is just as fast as Marino's was, even though Marino seems to be more. I mean, Marino had a much stronger arm, but Tua, he's doing like 2-3 steps, and the speed. I mean, if you want to watch vintage Tua the Rams game, the Shula, the defensive coordinator of the Rams, took Tua's first read away a lot in that Rams game, and he was just boom, 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 and he goes through his progressions. And I think he's in complete command of the offense right now. And you've got, this is what I was talking about. All 5 receivers, whether it's Odell or Malik Washington or Craycraft, along with Waddle and Hill, that this is all the receivers are in place. And Tua, I mean, that you're just watching a well efficient run offense where everybody knows the plays, they know where they're supposed to be, and Tua's in full command of it. And I would say he's playing a top 5 level quarterback in the NFL, and you're seeing that. Honestly, the last 3 games he's just been sensational. I don't know what his stats are, but he doesn't put the ball in harm's way very often, and often when it looks like he is, it's usually because there was a miscommunication on where the receiver was supposed to go in the coverage, but you don't see him making bad throws. The one thing I hope he doesn't hurt this game is I would like to see Tua. The next progression for him is understand situationally what's going on sometimes, because he just hates throwing the ball away so much. He hates throwing the ball away, and sometimes I know, but I mean, I understand, if it's late in the game and you're down and it's 3rd down, you can't. You got to try to make a play. But if it's you're up 10, which we've seen Tua do this, you're up 10 and you're playing really well and it's 1st down and they got everybody covered, just get rid of the ball. Don't try to do anything crazy. And so it's that balance that you want to see them like create off schedule, but at the same time, sometimes it's better not to even try to create off schedule. It's better just to get to the next down. They covered it well, good for them. Let's get to the next play. So it'll be a balance there. I do think last year there was some truth that he put on too much weight. He just wasn't athletic as he could be, and I think he's been more athletic this year. But man, watching him, like when he climbs the pocket or when he does leave the pocket, he just feels like he has such a good feel for the pressure around him, and he manages it pretty well. And I mean, Marino was so good at that, and I think Tannehill was one of the worst I've ever seen.
Tannehill
just
really
oblivious when people were around him.
He'll run into the sack, like he just never feels it, just doesn't see it. And
so
poor guy, he just doesn't see it.
It is. So I mean, I hope people appreciate that. I mean, we have yes. I mean, Mahomes is probably already one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and he's not Mahomes or Josh Allen type create, if things aren't going well, but he's a damn good quarterback. And so I'm glad we have him, because you saw what bad quarterbacks look like, when we had Thompson and Huntley in there, and it's a lot different. So
no doubt. What is going on with Huntley? Is he hurt?
I don't
he's on IR with that shoulder injury still.
Oh, he's on IR like for the season.
Yes.
Then he's done. Oh.
I don't know about for the season. I think they can bring him back. That's why they would.
I wish we could,
especially if they go and get somebody like the reports are saying they might want to.
What, Daniel Jones?
Yeah, well,
Well, I mean, he's better than Skylar Thompson.
Right? Yeah, that's.
He's better than Boyle. So yeah.
So just real briefly on that way, I don't want to get too into it because we don't have time. But is Daniel Jones can he sign for the league minimum and the Giants cover the rest of his deal? So you could bring him in on the league minimum for the Dolphins.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's signing for the minimum pretty much anywhere he goes.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's still getting paid. So let's talk about Shaq Barrett a little bit. Obviously, we had this guy primed as kind of like possibly maybe why we didn't make an offer to Van Ginkel was we signed Barrett, I guess. I don't know that that's the case, but I'm just trying to give him some sort of benefit of the doubt there. I'm still salty about it. And he retired. I know he had some things going on in his personal life for sure. We could all understand. But now he wants to come back, and it's past the trade deadline, so we can't trade him. I mean, are the Dolphins bringing this guy back into the fold? I mean, if they cut him, they would owe him money. I mean, he hasn't even played. I don't see what advantage just to do the guy a favor that would do, unless they worked out some kind of settlement or something. So is this guy, is he coming back? Coming back, never was really here. Going to play for us? You think he's another piece that we could use for sure? What do you think, Chad, as the season starts to wind down into the third? It's
an odd situation. The thing I've taken note of today as it came out is it's Shaq Barrett coming out of retirement. I haven't really heard Miami can't wait to get him in here. That I thought McDaniel was non-committal in his answer. I think he just said, well, he's going to have talk to Chris Greer and see what's going on.
I mean, he did say they targeted this guy for a reason. He did mention that as well today.
I think what we are going to find out right now is what's going on with Bradley Chubb. If Chubb's actually just a couple weeks away from maybe returning to practice, I don't think Shaq Barrett will stay here. But if Chubb's not going to play this year, injuries happen fast. Look at last year. And I don't know what kind of shape Shaq Barrett's in, but, if Emmanuel Ogba gets hurt or something like that, suddenly he becomes very valuable to have as a veteran player that you can put in there. So I don't expect them to just outright cut him right away again, unless Bradley Chubb's ready to go. And so we are seeing this team, I think, a little different maybe from the last few years, is they're moving on from people that aren't getting it done. I didn't think May looked very good at safety. He's gone. Long didn't look very good at linebacker. He's gone.
Yeah.
And
for
so
sure.
If
They're
Shaq
sending
Barrett
signals to the team that if you're not playing well, I mean,
if you're not playing well,
we signed you for who you are, we cut you.
Yeah, and so if Shaq Barrett's in good shape, they're good. If he's like 20 pounds heavier than he should be, they'll probably just cut him because they're not going to have time to get him in shape and get him ready. And so a lot of that has to depend on where he's at mentally. I've heard there's lots of rumors flying around that he wants to play for the Bucs and he wants to play for the Eagles. I don't know if any of it's true. I don't know if it's financially motivated. I do know I don't know if anybody's out there. I wouldn't be ripping on the guy on Twitter because I think he lost a child or something like that.
That's why I said he went through some things in his personal life. And
it wasn't a guy that's just screwing around and just decided to come back on a whim. He had a lot going on.
Exactly. So. Yeah, that's why I don't begrudge him the decision. I'm just trying to think about logistically for Miami. What makes sense. What do you think, Eric? I'd like to see him come back and maybe get into this thing. And if somehow we are making that, let's say we win this Green Bay game and we really are making that push to try and truly make, get into the playoffs and even get into the playoffs, I think having a guy like Barrett around, that would give him plenty of time to get up to speed for sure and get into game shape even if he was a little bit out of shape right now. What are your thoughts, Eric?
So firstly, I think the Dolphins probably already know what kind of shape he's in. Obviously, they have very good communication with Drew Rosenhaus, who's his agent. Drew Rosenhaus feels like he covers half the Miami Dolphins. He's
the best GM we've ever had.
It really, truly. He and the reporting that I've heard is that Shaq Barrett would be just fine actually coming back to the Dolphins. At least that's what Barry Jackson had put out there earlier today on Twitter. I think regardless of Bradley Chubb coming back, I would want Shaq Barrett back. As a matter of fact, I think Bradley Chubb coming back is all the more reason to want Shaq Barrett coming back. Because I think that there is another wrinkle to this defense that we haven't seen yet that I'm so interested in seeing, especially now that we've seen the Chop Robinson breakout. Because, firstly, Quentin Bell, as nice of a story as Quentin Bell has been, for the few snaps that he gives you on a game basis, I think I'm making that calculation and I'm like, you know what? The upside with Shaq Barrett is worth it. He would probably be the guy on the chopping block.
Jason asked that, and I hadn't really found the time. Who gets cut for him? You think?
I was just going to be a jerk and say Julian Hill. That's who.
I mean, we got Stoll now, right? What are we still doing with Hill? He gets more snaps still than Smythe. I don't understand what they're doing there, man.
But
anyway, that's not really the conversation we're having.
Getting back to that, what I want to see is one of the things Chop Robinson did best at Penn State was, and he's kind of been pigeonholed because of the injuries at the edge position to playing that edge position, is standing up and rushing from the interior. Kind of similar to how when you see Micah Parsons rushing the passer in Dallas, not to say that he is Micah Parsons, but the ways in which he can rush the passer are very similar. And I think if you have a Bradley Chubb and a Shaq Barrett on either edge, all of a sudden the Dolphins are much freer to move Chop Robinson around and kind of use him
On the stunts.
differently on stunts, standing up as a rusher over the A gap, things like that he does really well, that we haven't gotten to see yet. And I think because we've seen him as an edge rusher, I think we can probably imagine, if you have a guy that quick coming in and you have a Calais Campbell, massive human being, taking up a block over a guard or a center, and you have Chop Robinson just coming in as quick as can be, he's blowing by a lot of those guards and centers in the league and creating really disruptive pressure. So I think that's the next wrinkle for the defense if a Bradley Chubb or a Shaq Barrett return. And that's really why I would want to see it, is I think it unlocks more versatility in the pass rush.
All right. Real quick before we go, I know Lewis doesn't make you do predictions, but I'm going to. Chad, what's your prediction for the game?
This is a tough one. I would say Miami's going to lose by 10 in this game, but I think again with Dobbs being out, is that who's out for Green Bay?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just don't know Green Bay's roster that well. With their number one receiver being out, I think that's going to slow them down a little bit. And with Miami just being fully healthy in the way their offense is clicking right now, I think this is a real. If I was putting a line on this game, I would say it's even up 50-50 on who's going to win this game. It's going to come down to who makes the least mistakes. Hopefully now that Wright's laid the ball on the ground, Mostert's laid the ball on the ground a couple times, and Ingold's laid the ball on the ground. Hopefully we've gotten all over this fumble thing, and we're not going to fumble the ball. We've made every special teams error known to man, I think, at this point in the season. So hopefully special teams has gotten cleaned up a little bit. So
we've definitely had less penalties in general over the past.
Oh yeah, the last few weeks in general, the team as a whole
really
has
been
not had a lot,
especially the pre-motion, pre-snap penalties on offense. Right.
And so if we can play a fairly clean game, I do think we'll be able to beat Green. I think, this is a very good football team that's healthy right now. The Dolphins are, and so this is the team that's supposed to be competing for a Super Bowl on the field. So I'm going to give it to Miami by 3.
Okay. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I'll go out on a limb. I'll say Miami 28-27.
Okay. I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring game, but I like Miami 30-27. Yeah, I think there's going to be more scoring in this game. So we're all taking Miami, bunch of homers.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, everybody. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us and watching. Excited. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy some turkey or ham or potatoes or everything that you get. Anybody have any weird dishes that they eat for Thanksgiving?
I'm trying to think.
It's outside the norm.
Not really. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't have any. It's super classic. We smoked the turkey. I guess the only thing different is we smoked the turkey on Weber grill.
Oh, that's a little different.
Yeah,
you don't do the fry it in oil out in the backyard.
Like no, I've heard that. I haven't had a fried turkey. Or I don't have a fryer. I've heard it's amazing, that it's so good. But no, we smoke it on the Weber actually, like a big old bird, like a 20-something pound bird, and then we even add this little extra. Yeah, and we're able to. Yeah, it takes a long time, but it's delicious, man. So
All right, I'm going to Ron's house next
anything
year.
Different or any odd Thanksgiving foods? No, just the classics. Yeah, we're boring.
Pretty much.
Yeah, all right, everybody. Well, I appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving. Can't wait for the game, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.